Members of the public are not permitted to attend, but may also Zoom in. Persons may monitor the meeting from a remote location. This meeting will be conducted in accordance with Minnesota Statute 13D.021. All board members will be participating by phone or other electronic means. We'll take a roll call vote first. Dewey, or not a roll call vote, I'm sorry, for attendance, the roll call for attendance.
Yep.
Lloyd,
Here. Here.
Dale,
Here.
Jim,
Here.
Wendy,
Here.
Missy,
Here.
and Rebecca here. All board members are in attendance. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation,
under
under
God,
God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Recognition of visitors, open forum. There were no visitors that asked to speak at the meeting, so we'll move on. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved, Jim.
Motion by Jim,
Second,
There's-
Dale.
second by Dale. We'll do a roll call vote. Lloyd,
Aye.
Dale,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Wendy,
Yes.
Missy,
Yes.
Rebecca, or Dewey,
Yes.
and Rebecca, yes. Motion carries 7-0. Cobra Pride,
So tonight, what I wanted to talk about, this little piece of land right here. In the past, that was a farm plot, but I know that we are no longer going to be able to rent that piece of land, but I did want to recognize a few of the community people that really were instrumental in getting that started and helping us with that. One of those would be Tom Bash. Tom was the one that was actually basically just gave us the land to use. He did not own the land, but was actually the renter and allowed us to use that land rent-free. So that was a really nice gesture on his part, and we wanted to thank him for that. The next person would be Robbie Gilliland. Robbie provided a lot of the equipment and the running of the equipment when it came time to till or harvest or those types of things. So a huge shout out to Robbie for all of his help with that. And then thirdly, John Klaski, who works with CHS, supplied all of the fertilizer and all of the seed and those types of things without cost, and actually did a number of different land plot surveys, those kinds of things. So that was a really neat learning opportunity. And I know Mr. Ickler was kind of bummed that we're not going to be able to do that anymore, but he is looking into some other real life experiences that we'll be able to provide for our students. But I did want to thank those three because that was a very unique situation that we were able to take advantage of in the past.
thank you. Next up, consent agenda. Is there anything anyone would like to pull out of the consent agenda? If not, can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved, Dewey.
Motion by Dewey,
Second, Wendy.
second by Wendy. We'll do a roll call vote. Dale,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Wendy,
Yes.
Missy,
Yes.
Dewey,
Yes.
Lloyd,
Aye.
and Rebecca, yes. Motion carries. New business. 7.1, truth and taxation information, discuss levy certification and budget.
Kelly, were you going to take this one? Kelly Smith is on from Baker Tilly. Or is
Yes,
this-
no, I think, I
Amy's
thought
got this one.
Amy was going to take this one, but
Yep, okay. Amy, are you on?
I do not see her on here, Mr. Schlichting.
Okay. If you would
Do you
like,
want me to text her and ask her?
yeah, would you?
Yep.
If we could just move on to the next, we could move on to, Kelly, you're at 7.3, right?
yes, that's correct.
Why don't we start with that?
Okay. 7.3, discuss approve resolution relating to property tax abatement for parking lot reconstruction and improvement projects, granting the abatement.
Do you want me to just take
Yeah,
over
go
here,
ahead.
Craig?
I'm sorry, I was just reading. I got a text from Amy that said she lost her internet, so.
Oh, okay, all right. I will, I'm going to share my screen. As part of this process, if you recall back in September, you set a date for a hearing on the abatement process. So I've got to go through a quick presentation here. It won't take very long. Just describes what the process is, what projects are going to be funded with this abatement bond, and the timing. So if I will share my screen quickly, and
You should be able to now, Kelly.
thank you. Yep, got it. And let's see. Everyone seeing that? So this is the parking lot projects funded with tax abatement bonds public hearing. Just not going to go through a lot about that, but I'm with Baker Tilly Municipal Advisors. We're actually a worldwide firm, but also a heavy presence throughout the United States. And tonight, as part of this hearing, we're going to talk about the financing of school building parking lot reconstruction needs, the estimated total bonded debt of $3.7 million. The school district will levy the annual debt service through tax abatement, and the first debt service payment is on proposed 2021 property tax levy. And I had thought you'd have that discussion before, but the debt service payments for this bond and the LTFM or facility maintenance bonds that we'll be discussing tonight already are on your levy for pay 21 already. So they're included on that levy. So abatement bonding for school districts has really only been around for about 10 years. It's always been in legislation, but cities and counties are more apt to use the abatement process. And several things are required when you do for an abatement, and for school districts in particular, the only thing that you can finance with abatement bonding proceeds is our parking lot improvements or construction projects. You need to prove that the public improvements will benefit the property and surrounding property owners. You can only have one abatement on a property for the first 8 years before another abatement, and typically that's not a factor in most districts because you do not have to do abatement bonds very often. And you must adopt a resolution at a public meeting, and that will be the second part of this this agenda item. There is a resolution that we'll ask for action on. The abatement resolution indicates the terms So the amount, I said about 3.7 million, the length of these bonds, which is 15 years, the public benefit and what the projects are, et cetera. So this project summaries, these are, the funds will be used for extensive improvements and reconstruction of parking areas, sidewalks, and pathways. This will help provide safe and reliable access to buildings, meet accessibility requirements for students, staff, and the community, improve curb and drainage systems. Here is a map of what projects will be undertaken with the funding from the abatement bonds. In the red, I hope it's showing up as red, it's the largest areas. That is going to be reconstruction of existing parking lots. As you know, you have potholes throughout these areas. So this is reconstructing and resurfacing all these existing areas. There's a small blue section over here, which is new construction. And then in the orange, this asphalt surface is in reasonably good shape and will just have crack sealing as part of the project. But again, the major project is going to be in red and then the new construction in blue.
And
All
just a reminder
around
that blue area there in the back area, there will be the ability to park buses there. So like if we have large track meets, those types of things, that will be additional parking space. So we don't have to use a lot of the parking lot.
Very good. And so there is a cost to raising this revenue for this project. And I mentioned it's a 15-year debt service schedule. On a $100,000 home, the tax impact is estimated to be $16. And we were using property values from last year's taxable year. So we don't have updated. So it might change them slightly. If anything, it will go down, maybe $1. But depending on what type of changes in overall property valuation. 100,000 commercial industrial property will see an estimated tax increase of $33. $250,000 commercial industrial property increase of $99. And an acre of ag land is $6,000 or of $6,000 per acre valuation would see a increase of 30 cents per acre. And I do need to say that is net of the ag to school tax credit. All of this debt will qualify for the ag to school tax credit. So the schedule of events, I didn't put on September 29th. You passed a resolution calling for the public hearing, but then that notice was published in the paper, the local paper, on Thursday, November 26th. Tonight, we're having the public hearing to consider the tax abatement and answer any questions. I will be asking you to adopt the tax abatement resolution. And then as part of the next agenda item, it's a resolution authorizing the bond sale for the abatement bonds, and also the facility maintenance bond will be in one resolution. On the morning of Monday, January 11th, we will hold a competitive bond sale for both of these bond issues at our offices. We take bids electronically. And then we'll notify the district of the results during the day, and then and who we recommend as the low bidder. And at the board meeting that night, the board would approve the award of bonds at their regular meeting. And then approximately 1 month later, on February 10th, the bonds are settled. That means the proceeds will be wired out to the school district and will be available for use on any of these projects as you're getting going on some of the projects. So that is the schedule. And with that, if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. And I'm gonna If there are no questions, then the next item would be that resolution. And I don't know if everyone has a copy in front of them tonight, but I could share it on my screen here too. But
It was in the board packet.
it was?
Yeah,
Okay, all right. So it is the resolution relating to property tax abatement for parking lot reconstruction improvement projects, granting the abatement. And one thing I want to point out, and it's always a little confusing, way at the end of this resolution, there are a bunch of small numbers. Those are property parcels that we have to identify as contiguous and immediately benefiting from these. They are not going to be taxed any differently than any property throughout the district, but it is a requirement that these properties be listed in this resolution. So just wanted to point that out. Otherwise, the resolution, as I had mentioned earlier, states the length of time. These are 15-year bonds for approximately $3.72 million. And this is approving the abatement process there.
This is Jim. I'll move to approve the resolution.
Motion by Jim,
This is Missy. I'll second.
second by Missy. We'll do a roll call vote. Jim,
Yes.
Wendy,
Yes.
Missy,
Yes.
Dewey,
Yes.
Lloyd, Lloyd, are you muted, Lloyd?
Yes.
Hi. You hear me now?
yeah.
Yes, thank you.
I,
Dale
my
Yes.
screen changed.
and Rebecca, yes. Motion carries. Are we ready to go back to 7.1 or?
Yeah, I see Amy's on here, so I'll go back to that.
Okay.
All right, Amy, if you want to go ahead with 7.1 there, discuss levy certification and budget. She was on here. Looks like she bopped off again.
She joined Schlick. I saw it.
Yeah, I saw her on too, but I don't see her now.
Her name just popped back up. Probably waiting for audio.
Yeah, it's just connecting, I think. Amy, are you there? I see her on here.
She's muted. Amy, you're muted.
Amy, you can unmute yourself. I'm texting her just a sec.
Okay.
All right. Is Jason, Jason, are you still on here? Boynton, we could go to the discuss and approve the audit. That is 7.5.
Yep, I'm here. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah,
Good.
I will get to your slides here. Just give me 1 second. So this would be item 7.5. All right, go ahead, Jason.
Well, my name is Jason Boynton from Smith Schaefer. Pleased to be with the board this evening to review the results of the audit of the school district's financial statements for the year ended June 30th, 2020. If you want to advance to the first slide. So district contracts with our firm to perform an audit of their financial statements. And based on that, we follow the audit standards, and then we issue an opinion on the financial statements, which is the thick book that you've gotten there. We're issuing an unmodified opinion. A lot of people refer to that as a clean opinion. Just means that we think that the financial statements are fairly stated in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. In addition to issuing the opinion on the audit, we're required to do some additional procedures in the area of we call it Minnesota legal compliance. That's put out by the state, and if anything we pull for testing is if any exceptions are noted, we're required to bring that to the board's attention. We did not have any there. We are not bringing any control related findings forward to the board. No significant deficiencies considered there. We did not need a single audit, which is a special federal program audit. When you have over 750,000 in federal expenditures in a year, we have about 600,000, so we're below that threshold. And then we're required to take a look at student activity compliance procedures, again, put out by the state, and we did not have any findings there as well. Lastly, there's a separate letter that we issue. We call it an audit committee letter, or those charged with governance letter. Goes over, it's a required communication, and there's certain elements that we are required to put in there, discusses significant estimates in the financial statements. It also, if there are any disagreements, issues, problems, concerns, we're required to put that in writing to the board, which as I just went through, we did not have any concerns there. So from an audit perspective, everything checked out well, and no issues. So next up, instead of going through the financial statements in detail, which we've already done with Amy and the superintendent, we're going to just hit some highlights, some high points, take this opportunity. I'll go through this pretty quickly, and then I'll open it up for questions when I'm done here. So to start out, just takes a look at what's our ADM here, what's going on with the district. The ADMs are student numbers, driver funding. And so you can see here, historically, we've been seeing a little bit of a decline in student numbers over the last several years. We were down about 46 students between fiscal 19 and fiscal 20. That's about a 4% reduction. And since 2014, you can see we were at 1196. We're down about 12% in total student numbers. So When we look at funding, that's going to be kind of what drives our state aids and other revenues. So keep that in mind as we look through this expenditures as well. So if you want to go on the next chart. So this is revenues for all funds. So the total revenues for the district was about $13.5 million in total. You can see that's down a little bit from fiscal 19. Our primary revenue source is state aids. We have about $10.2 million for fiscal 20 in state aid revenue, down from the previous year with the reduction in student numbers. 46 students that impacted our aid. And then you can see we aren't seeing much for increases. It's relatively flat. Even though our student numbers have been dropping, we've been getting the 2% formula aid increase from the state, which has helped offset that. But so revenues are really pretty similar the last 4 years from the state aid side. Other revenue sources is property taxes. So our collections there, you can see we're about 1.9 million, just under $2 million. Our actual levy is about 2.2 million. But as Kelly mentioned earlier, there's the state aid credit program that helps offset some of that levy. And so that's paid to the district and state aid. Your federal aids were about 600,000 I mentioned earlier. And then other revenue, that last category is everything that's not those first three categories. That's going to be things like student fees, billings to other districts, childcare fees, food service, investment income, all aggregated together there. And that's about 740,000 in total. On the next chart, just your breakdown of your revenues. So we get about 76% of our total funding comes from state aids, about 14% from property taxes, and then a little bit of federal and other, as you saw. And not a lot different. We did see a little bit of an increase in the levy, so that percentage increased by 1%. But at 14%, that's a relatively low levy percentage. Relative to, I think, other districts that we work with. We work with about 20 plus districts, and we typically see a little bit higher percentage, at least in the smaller districts down in the southern part of the state. On the next chart then, so when you take a look at your tax levy, and this is the levy to fund fiscal 19 is in the second to last column there, and then we put in the levy for fiscal 2020. So you can see the levy in total is made up of operations for the general fund in blue, your community service, we get a small amount there, and then your debt levy. And so then for 2020, we did see an increase in overall operating levy, and that increased our levy up. That'll be for funding for next year's, for fiscal 2021. On the next chart, so your expenditures then. So these are the categories that the state requires us to track expenditures. And again, one of the challenges for the board when you have some declining enrollment is you got to match your expenditures with your funding or your revenue sources. So our primary expenditure category is going to be regular instruction, and with student numbers declining, we've been able to keep that relatively stable. We actually saw a reduction in fiscal 20. Some of that probably related to COVID and being closed the last part of the school year there. Other significant categories, special ed, we spend about $1.5 million on. Pupil support, which is primarily transportation, that was about $940,000 for fiscal 20. Site and buildings was about $833,000. Those first two categories are district administration, which is actually down a little bit. And then support services is really district-wide expenditures. And that was up slightly. On the next chart. So when you look overall at the general fund, again, revenues in the blue, your expenses, your costs in the yellow, and then if we have a surplus or a deficit in the green. So you can see again, mirroring what we've talked about with student numbers being relatively down a little bit, your revenues are relatively stable. So we're attempting to match our costs to our revenues. We did have a surplus in the general fund of about 400,000 in fiscal 20, which added to our fund balance. But if you go on to the next chart then, take a look at your fund balance here. That's made up of three types of categories of fund balance. Your unassigned is in the orange color there. Your assigned is in the green, and then your restricted is in the blue. So I mentioned we had a $400,000 increase in the general fund, but most of that went into restricted fund balance increases, and that's primarily LTFM and safe school levy, staff development, and student activities. I think you'll see on the next chart. So those are those restricted balances. So you can see of the total restricted dollars, LTFM represents almost 450,000 of that. We added student activities. That was an accounting change. We're required to consider those as part of the general fund. They used to be outside of the general fund. Then staff development was one of the larger increases, as well as safe schools, as I mentioned earlier. On the next chart. And then we do have some assigned fund balance. And you can see that's primarily 200,000 for turf repair and maintenance. And then student groups was up a little bit, again, probably related to COVID, and then some technology, small amount there set aside for technology. On the next chart, so food service. So with reduction in student numbers, we've seen a reduction in revenues historically here. Again, they were down, which isn't surprising given the that we went to distance learning at the end of the last school year. Costs are coming down as well. We did end up with a deficit in fiscal 2020 in food service of about about $50,000. But if you go on to the next chart, from a fund balance perspective, we were in pretty good shape. We had sufficient fund balance. We still have a positive fund balance, about 23,000. And depending on what happens the rest of this year, summer food rates are we're able to use the summer food service rates for the year, so that should help performance within the food service. So don't really have a major concern within the fund balance in food service. And then community service, our revenues in the blue, expenditures in the orange there. We did have a deficit in community service as well, pretty common amongst the districts, again, having gone to distance learning and not being able to have the childcare and other activities through the end of the year. So, but from a fund balance perspective on the next chart. You can see your fund balance, and other community service fund balance is community ed. And that's actually in a deficit of about 52,000. And then in the yellow, that's your restricted, that's your ECFE and community service and school readiness fund balance. And we do have our debt service fund. There's a fund balance there of about 108,000. That was up a little bit from the previous year. Last couple of charts, just take a look at your expenditures divided by your student numbers. So what's interesting here, as you've seen a reduction in your student numbers, your per student cost has been going up, even though your actual revenue or your expenses, we saw earlier in the chart, administration and district-wide support costs in total weren't up that significantly, but as our student numbers dropped, our per student cost increases. So again, this is getting back to managing our costs to our student numbers. So we did see an increase this last year, even though costs weren't up that much, but with being down 46 students, that per student cost was about 1,200. And then the last two columns take a look at districts between 1,000 and 2,000 ADM, and then the overall state average. And that's a year-old data. That's 2019. But you can see we do run a little bit higher in district school admin than districts between that 1,000 to 2,000 range. On the next chart. Regular instruction as well. And again, we've been able to do a pretty good job, I think, on regular instruction costs here and keeping those relatively stable. We do run a little bit higher than districts between 1,000 and 2,000. Again, we're on the low end of that range too, so you got to keep that in mind. That's a pretty big range. And then on the next chart, pupil support. We actually been running a little bit less than districts of our size. 2019 was a little higher. I think we bought some buses, so those costs were a little higher in 19. That's why that spiked. And then overall on the general fund, so in total though, we still spend less than districts in that 1,000 to 2,000 range. And with the reduction in costs, primarily driven in part by COVID affecting the end of the school year there, but you can see we dropped a little bit in total. And my last chart just summarizes. So unmodified opinion on the financial statements. We think they're fairly stated. We did have a surplus in the general fund, almost $400,000, but most of that went into restricted fund balance. And so our unassigned still stays at about 640,000, which is about 6% of our expenditure. So just a little bit less than a month in reserves there. Your food service fund had a deficit of about 50,000, but we still have a positive fund balance there, about 23 grand. And then community service had a small deficit there of 19,000, and in total has a positive fund balance of about 30,000. So, all right, with that, I will open it up. See if anybody has any questions or any comments, or if Amy wants to add anything.
If there's no questions, then I'll look for a motion to approve 7.5.
So move, Dewey.
Motion by Dewey,
Second, Wendy.
second by Wendy. We'll do a roll call vote. Wendy,
Yes.
Missy,
Yes.
Dewey,
Yes.
Lloyd, Lloyd,
Aye.
Dale,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes,
and Rebecca, yes. Motion carries. Thank you.
All right, thank you, everyone. I
Thanks,
thank
Jason.
Amy and Craig for all their help, and appreciate a challenging year for sure with everything that's going on, but we made our way through it, and wish you guys well going forward. So everybody stay healthy, stay safe. Okay,
All right, thanks,
Thank you,
Jason.
Lisa.
thank you.
All right, Amy, we're back to the 7.1, truth and taxation. I can see, I just can't hear you yet. I think you just have to unmute. Is it you're on your phone? I can't hear you yet, no. It shows that you're on with your phone as well. I just need you to unmute one. Do you want me to call your phone and then have you just talk through the phone? I'll do that. Done it before. It works. Hey, you there? Yeah. All right, I will go ahead and let you take over.
Okay, can everybody hear me? Sorry, this is just a mess. Ugh, okay. Okay, we'll start with our truth and taxation meeting for the 2021 tax year. We're gonna go over our current year budgets and what we're proposing for taxes for 2021. You can go ahead and go to the next slide. So why are we having this meeting? It's required by the truth and taxation law, which is passed in 1989. So two components of this are the tax statements that are mailed out to all taxpayers within the counties that we cover. And then we have to have a public hearing, which will discuss the levy and our current year budget, and then we'll have an opening at the end for any comments or questions. So who sets the levy? The components of this are kind of two pieces. There's a portion that's set by state formula by the legislature, and that includes our general ed revenue, operating capital, green tech, and any other restricted funds. There's another component, which is the voter approved component, and that would be the operating levy that we were successful in passing last year. Okay. So how are taxes determined? The county assessor determines the market value for each parcel of property. Legislature sets the formulas for tax capacity, and these formulas determine how tax burden is split on different types of property, residential versus commercial, ag, that kind of thing. The county auditor then calculates the tax capacity for each parcel based on those pieces. And then the county auditor also divides the total levy by total tax capacity of the district to determine tax rate needed. So the rate is multiplied by each property's tax capacity. Go ahead. Okay. So this is kind of it just shows a graph of the trend in people costs versus what the state is providing in state aid. And as you can see, state aid is lagging behind in inflation. Since 2003, it's been trailing by $689 per people. Since it comes to about $568 million annually. So go to the next slide. And this is why unfortunately, it's important to pass those operating referendums, because that kind of helps fill in that gap so that we can kind of keep up with costs for the schools. So looking at our current year budget, looking at all of our funds, general fund revenues this year are $12,695,203. Expenditures for the year are $11,788,211. So a net increase of 906,000, almost 907. Community ed budget, we set the beginning budget operating at a little bit of a deficit, so about a net $30,000 loss. However, I know Christy has been successful in getting some additional state grants for childcare during COVID. So that will hopefully help alleviate that deficit a little bit. Debt service revenue is $1,014,000 with expenditures of $937,000. So a net about $77,000. So overall, we're looking at revenues of $14.1 million, expenditures of $13.2. So we're looking at about a net gain for the school year overall, all taxable funds for $953,000. So it's important as taxpayers to know your valuation. So when you get your proposed valuation notice, you want to look at that piece in step 1, and that'll show your valuations and your classifications. And then you have the opportunity until spring to contest that or pose questions on it or appeal it.
Next slide.
Yeah, please, thanks. Another important component of our taxes is the ag school credit. So this became a permanent law in 2017, and it affects all of our debt service levies, except for the OPEB piece. And this is a specific reduction in taxes for ag properties and for timber owners. So yeah, it's scheduled to max out. So what the state does is replace that tax burden with state aid, and it's on right now. It's on a gradual scale, and it will top out at 70% in 2023. So this piece of state aid comes from state income, sales tax, and other tax revenue. And this kind of shows the scale that I was just mentioning. So this year the 2021 taxes that we're looking at passing tonight, that credit will be 55%. And then the following year it'll be 60, and then 2023 it'll max out at 70%. So where to find that on your property tax proposal? If you have eligible ag property, it will show up in step 2 where it says proposed tax, and there will be a separate line item for any ag credit that you might be receiving. So overall, possible reasons why your taxes may go up or may go down. Could be due to changes in value or classification of property, change in our district enrollment numbers, change in valuation of the property within the district, local decisions and things that may be happening. There's always going to be probably adjustments for prior years because some taxes are paid an estimate and then they'll come back later and adjust to actual. And then of course, any changes made within the legislature. So just kind of giving an overall state picture of the local operating referendum. So last year we passed our referendum at $750 per pupil. Statewide, the average is $450, so we're just a little bit above that average. You can kind of see the districts in the red are above that median. The yellows are kind of around the median, and then the white pieces are actually districts that have none. So interestingly, there are 102 districts that currently have no operating referendum. So looking at our specific proposal of taxes for 2021, this is what we're looking at proposing for tonight. So general fund revenue will be $1,834,850.58, which is an increase from 2020 of $37,349.26, so about a 2% change. Community ed, we're looking at a levy of $117,976.74. So that's a 2.6% increase from 2020. And then debt service, we're looking at $1,201,023.23. And that includes the additional LTFM revenue that was approved this past fall for upcoming projects. So that increase, that's why that increase is up just a little bit, right? A little bit more than normal. It's at 34%. But overall, our levy is proposing a $3,153,850.55 levy, which would be an overall increase of about 12% from 2020. So this slide just puts that proposed levy in basically a resolution format if you choose to pass it tonight. So we're looking at passing a resolution to for 21 taxes of $3,153,850.55. And that's kind of all I've got, unless anyone has any questions or comments they'd like to make.
All right.
If there's no questions, then 7.2, approval of final 2020 payable 2021 levy certification.
I'll move to approve it. Jim.
Motion by Jim,
I'll second. Missy?
second by Missy. We'll do a roll call vote. Missy,
Yes.
Dewey,
Yes.
Lloyd,
Aye.
Dale,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Wendy,
yes,
and Rebecca, yes. Motion carries. 7.4, discuss approve resolution authorizing issuance and sale of $4,65,000 general obligation facilities maintenance bonds series 2021A and $3,715,000 general obligations tax abatements bonds series 2021B.
Did we approve that already?
No,
No,
that
this,
was
this one has not been approved.
Okay.
So this is the resolution that formally sets the sale date and the approximate amount of the bonds and the time of the sale, et cetera. So, and it covers both the facility maintenance bonds and the abatement bonds. So,
Thanks, Kelly.
I so move to approve 7.4. Missy,
Motion by Missy,
second by Jim.
second by Jim. We'll do a roll call vote. Dewey,
Yes.
Lloyd,
Aye.
Dale,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes,
Wendy,
yes,
Missy,
yes.
and Rebecca, yes. Motion carries.
say I wanted
Yeah,
to.
go ahead, Kelly.
I just want to thank everyone for taking that action tonight. And there are a few documents for signatures that the clerk signatures are needed. And then I think Craig, I was looking at the one document to see if you or Amy were going to sign the school district credit enhancement application, but just know that those forms are out there, need to be
Yep.
signed and sent back. And then just wanted to, again, thank you. And I will be back in January. Hope everyone has a happy holidays and we'll see you soon. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Kelly.
Thank you. 7.6, discuss approved resolution establishing a combined polling place for multiple precincts and designating hours during which the polling places will remain open for voting for school district elections not held on the date of a statewide election.
All right, so this is basically just saying if, and thank goodness, this will be the first time in a long time we have not had to have an election. But if for some reason we needed to have an election, that we could combine polling places like we've done in the past. And this has to be approved in case that were to happen. Let's say there was one of you decided to quit and got sick and tired of working with me. Then there would need to be a special election and we would need to have had this passed in order to be able to do this. So we're not planning on running an election and I don't want to run one, but in case we needed to, we need to have this approved at this point.
Dewey, so moved.
Motion by Dewey. Do we have a
second by
second?
Wendy,
Second by Wendy. We'll do a roll call vote. Lloyd,
Aye.
Dale,
Yes.
Jim,
yes,
Wendy,
yes,
Missy,
Yes.
Dewey,
Yes.
and Rebecca, yes. Motion carries. 7.7, discuss approve resolution of school board supporting Form A application to MSHSL Foundation.
And basically this is just a simple form that says that we can get reimbursed by the Minnesota State High School League and they could donate money if there was any left. And if you have any questions, you want to say any more to that?
Yeah, I can talk to this one. The MSHSL Foundation provides money back to school districts based off of free and reduced lunch and non-duplicate participants of activities. So by signing this and being part of this, we could hopefully receive some money this spring from the MSHSL Foundation, which is separate from the State High School League.
How much have we gotten back, Shane, from the past, you know?
It doesn't always come back to the schools, but they are forecasting that there will be money this year for it. I know we did not receive any money last year. All Form As were declined. It's a grant, so depending on what the foundation decides, we're not talking big money, but we're talking a few $1,000s. Mr. Luderman, anything you can add to that?
No, I think you explained it very well.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve 7.7?
Wendy,
moved.
motion,
Motion by Wendy,
second Jim,
second by Jim. We'll do a roll call vote. Dale,
Yes.
Jim,
yes,
Wendy,
yes,
Missy,
Yes.
Dewey,
Yes.
Lloyd,
Aye.
and Rebecca, yes. Motion carries. 7.8, discuss approve final certified staff seniority list.
And just a reminder, the only reason that Shane and I show up on this is because we were teachers in the district prior to becoming administrators. That's why Luke and Mary don't show up on that list. I know that's been a question I've been asked in the past. Just want to clarify that.
Are there any other questions? If not, can I get a motion to approve 7.8?
So moved, Lloyd.
Motion
Second,
by
Dale.
Second by Dale. We'll do a roll call vote. Jim,
Yes.
Wendy,
Yes.
Missy,
Yes.
Dewey,
Yes.
Lloyd,
Aye.
Dale,
Yes.
and Rebecca, yes. Motion carries. 7.9, discuss approve final classified staff seniority list.
So basically, same thing for our classified staff.
This
Are
is
there any
Jim.
questions?
This is Jim. I'll move to approve.
Motion by Jim,
Wendy will second.
second by Wendy. We'll do a roll call vote. Wendy,
Yes.
Missy,
Yes.
Dewey,
Yes.
Lloyd,
Aye.
Dale,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
and Rebecca, yes. Motion carries. 7.10, discuss approve designating the Dodge County Independent as the official newspaper.
And they are the only local newspaper we have, and thank goodness we have one, because otherwise it would cost us an arm and a leg to do a lot of the things we do. So happy that we have them to designate.
I make a motion to approve. Dewey.
Motion by Dewey,
Second, Dale.
second by Dale. We'll do a roll call vote. Missy,
Yes.
Dewey,
Yes.
Lloyd,
Aye.
Dale,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Wendy,
Yes.
and Rebecca, yes. Motion carries. 7.11, discuss Triton school calendar for 2021-2022.
And basically, the format that we used last year, I'll just send out an all call to whoever wants to be a participant in that process. And then we will come up with some recommendations, and then we will bring those to the board next month.
Okay. 7.12, student council report.
All right, student council, if you want to go ahead.
So within the student council, the things that we've been doing over distance learning have been, we did some teacher appreciation. We went to like a student council like intervention over Zoom with like a bunch of different schools that all joined the call. And we've been doing a holiday bingo.
All right, thanks, McKenna. I'm sorry, Brenna.
That was Brenna. Yeah, thank you,
I saw
Brenna.
McKenna's on here too, but thank you. I know it's not been an easy year for you guys, but you've definitely been creative, and appreciate the work that you guys are doing.
Yeah, thank you.
7.13, Zed report.
We had a meeting last Thursday, and I don't know if we all got a chance to see, there were some timelines sent out, some drawings, I believe, of the facilities. In the future, Mr. Gordon would be available to come to a board meeting to discuss the facilities, to show some of the diagrams, and they're still working on some things, but things are moving fast. And the other thing they wanted to let everybody know was that they're excited. The staff and everybody's excited over there about what's gonna happen. So anyway, they're thanking everybody for their parts in this moving forward. I believe next month we'll get they'll be selling the bonds. We had to extend the parameters of the bonding because of the situation with Pine Island, so it'll be in January. I think it was the end in December, and that won't get done. So it got extended till the end of January. I don't know if there's any questions, or yeah, if you don't have or haven't seen any of this stuff, I guess let me know, or Craig.
Yeah, and Lloyd and I talked about this today too. I'm going to put together one of those updates, newsletters on this, and I'll put all of the information together on Zed, and then just put that together and try to make it make sense, because there's been a lot of documents lately. So I'll just send out a specific update on Zed.
Okay, thank you. 7:14, principals reports.
I guess it's my turn to go first. So I just want to start by thanking everybody for all their hard work in this distance learning model as we move. There's a couple pictures there of just, we've still been having students in the building throughout all this, and the special ed team, the title team, the gen ed teachers, everybody, all of our EAs and paras, and helping out with running daycare. It's just been a different environment, but a great one to work in, and everyone has just really stepped up to the challenge. And I just want to thank everybody. If you see teachers out and about, they've been busy delivering and bringing packages to our students within our Triton School District and the 3 communities that make up our school district. So if you see those teachers, make sure you say thank you. They go up and beyond the call all the time, and I appreciate all their efforts. So that's all I have. Any questions for me?
All right, Shane.
Yeah, to piggyback off of what Mrs. Morum said, the staff is doing an amazing job through a difficult time known as distance learning. At the middle school, we've also had several students in the building. With a high water mark of today, we had almost 18 students in the building, which includes special education students as well as general education, just some of the kids that need some extra attention and time with the teacher to get some things figured out. So thank you to the middle school staff, because there's a lot going above and beyond to reach our students where they're at through distance learning. We're excited to get students back, hopefully back on January 4th. Staff is looking forward to that day. Hopefully the numbers continue to trend the way that they have been, so that we can be back in our hybrid in the middle school for January 4th. You want to go to the next slide, Mr. Schlichting? Last week was a very large week for activities with the announcement that Governor Walz gave on Wednesday. We are to start practices on January 4th. At this time, we do not know when games or contests will be allowed to be played. We've been working hard on getting another schedule put together for the winter sports. And so far, I've made those schedules with the assumption of games beginning January 14th. Now that is an assumption, and we're waiting. Hopefully tomorrow we'll learn when the first games and contests can take place. And there's a chance that we have to recreate some schedules, but know that Triton's in a good place. And as soon as activities are a go, we'll have schedules, and our coaches are ready to kick off the seasons. And we have some excited athletes throughout our school. Also with the winter sports, we're expecting the guidance from the state to be a little bit more strict than it was during the fall. One rumor that's floating around is that our athletes may have to wear masks as they are participating in gameplay, including wrestlers and basketball players. But that's going to be guidance given out by the State High School League in collaboration with the Minnesota Department of Health and MDE. So we're anxiously awaiting to see what the state says sports will look like if and when those games come back here in January. So schedules are going to be fluid throughout the year. We know that unfortunately quarantines are part of sports now, and we have to be prepared as a school and as our separate teams to go in and out of quarantine and play different teams than what's regularly on the schedule. But I know that with the coaches that we have in place, we'll have a successful opportunity for athletes to participate in activities. You want to go to the next slide, Mr. Schlichting? Throughout all of it, we did have a very exciting time where we were able to reward some of our standout student athletes for 2 separate awards. First off, for the seniors, it's the AAA award, which stands for Academics, Arts, and Athletics. This is given to a senior male and a senior female that are high school seniors at the time of the nomination. They must have over a 3.0. They must participate in at least one state high school league offered activity. And as a process, we used a selection committee. We received many applications from our students, and we are proud to announce that Alex and Brenna were the recipients of the AAA award this year for Triton. Although they're already the winners for Triton, they do move on to the sub-region for the next portion. So there's another chance of both Alex and Brennan to move forward along all the way up to a state level that is recognized typically in the beginning of March. Again, the AAA is for seniors. We also recognized our Excel Award winners. This award is designed for juniors, and it is an award for excellence in community education and leadership. And we're proud to announce that Caitlin Corteau and August Kozizek both received that award at the Triton level, and they will be moving on to the state level for further recognition. So congratulations to those 4 great role models for our school, and I'm very anxious to see how they do at the next levels of those awards. Any questions from the board, whether on the middle school happenings or anything with activities? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Shane. Luke?
All right, it's great to see everybody on here tonight. I believe I could continue the message of thanks that both Shane and Mary had expressed about the staff, the students, and the community here. I know we've talked about Tessa Ogren a few times here at board meetings, but I just wanted to take a minute to recognize her again tonight. Like I said before, I know we've mentioned her a few times, and if you're following the updates from the Minnesota Department of Education and Minnesota Department of Health, these continue to change. And throughout all of that, her job has changed tremendously throughout the course of the school year. And she's been up to the challenge every single day and helping and leading our school. In terms of quarantines, when those have to take place for students or staff, a lot of times she's there to answer the questions and go through that, which is a difficult thing to do, because obviously there's a lot of passion behind that with students and parents in our community as well. But she's done a continual great job, and wanted to make sure and recognize her tonight. So we appreciate all you do. The next person there on the right is Mick Buchanan. He's our nighttime custodian here. And to us, he's so much more than a custodian. He brings a smile to our school. So a lot of times his job has changed tremendously during the pandemic too, where we have asked him to do some new things. And obviously when our students are in the building, the cleaning and things like that have picked up. But Mick's done a tremendous job for us, and we're extremely glad to have him on our team. Also, not just during the the time where we had students in the building, but now too, as Shane had noted, we do have some students in the building now. For a variety of reasons, and our transportation department and our staff have just done a great job of working with those students. So extremely proud of our team, and like Mr. Van Beek and Mary had noted, Ms. Morum had said, we're hopeful that we'll be able to have most of our students back in the building on January the 4th. All right, Mr. Schlichting, you can go to the next one, sir. All right, I wanted to take a moment tonight and talk about the academy approach. We're excited to bring that to our school here next fall. And really, in summary, what this program does, it helps us design educational experiences that take into account that there's not just one pathway or a one-size-fits-all approach for education. It takes that into account. And really what we're trying to do is to make sure that all of our students have additional career-related and job-embedded experiences throughout their school experience here at Triton. And I'll be honest with you, a lot of this stuff we are doing now already, okay? But by forming the academies, okay, it takes that information, those career embedded experiences, and provides us a framework to build off of for those individual experiences.
It
Right, to
really
grad-
provides a way to recognize kids for what the things that they're doing too.
Absolutely, it does. And I'll mention that too, Mr. Schlichting. For the academy experience, a student that would finish their experience here with an academy certificate, they'd receive a diploma noting that, and they would also receive a medallion at graduation. So for students to finish with the certificate, they would have to complete a certain amount of courses in their field, and their senior project or their capstone experience would have to be a career embedded experience in this field. Okay, Mr. Schlichting, you can go on to the next one here. I'm not going to go through all these individually, but this is part of our design for the academies. So the areas that we will have for our academies are listed here. We also want to continue to explore additional opportunities for our students to explore these careers in these fields. But we're very excited to begin, and we look forward to starting this in the fall of 21. Mr. Schlichting, I know when you were on board here as a principal, you started the framework for all this. Is there anything you wanted to add to this tonight, sir?
No, it's great seeing it kind of coming to fruition. I think it's a really neat thing for our kids, and it will recognize them for the things that they are doing. And, you know, it does put a focus on what do you want to do after school, you know, kind of what's your plan. And this is just another continuation of that. So thanks for your continued work on that, Mr. Luderman.
You're welcome. I don't think I have another slide. Any questions?
So on that, on this high school that you have on your, I don't see like military. Which one would that fall underneath?
It
If
could
somebody
fall
was-
under a number of them. It could fall
Okay.
under a number of them. And now students don't need to, it's not a requirement, it's an option for them. So in terms of a specific career academy for a military, there's not a specific one, but I think it would fall in many.
And I think the thing with military is a lot of times, you know, a lot of times kids don't have an idea of what area they want to explore if they do go to the military. And I think this accentuates the fact that you can explore that interest even if you are going into the military, because there's so many different options in the military. And you know, sometimes kids don't really have that idea of what it is they want to do or why they're going. But I think this helps highlight and really give them some experience where, hey, that's great that you're going, but what are you going to go do? You know, because and not that they have to have something picked, because you could just go to the military and be a soldier. But I think, as we all know, more and more in this day and age, that's kind of a rare thing. They really do specialize in some area if they're going into the military.
Right, that's why I didn't know if there was a special box that we were gonna put them in or something.
Makes sense. A good question, Dewey.
Yeah, thanks, Dewey. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. 7:15 superintendent's report.
Yeah, so you know, I talked a little bit, I sent out some information. We're in that final design phase. There is a meeting on January 12th, and I will record that. A lot of that will be kind of that final design information that we have before things start to go out for a bid. Because then after that point, specific parts of the project, so HVAC or whatever companies want to bid on different parts of the project can do that. The lighting project, that's really almost complete. There's a couple little things that they need to do, but overall, the lighting is done. So that's been a great project, and it really made the gym look a lot different. It's pretty cool. You know, some of the areas really do jump. So really excited about that. Equity audit, we had some really good participation. So they're just in the putting that information together. And then we'll do some focus groups, just asking questions, those kinds of things. but really happy with the number of people that filled out the survey. That's always kind of a big thing. Whenever you do a survey, you need to have people participate. So we really had great participation, and I'm happy with that. Learning model update, just wanted to let you know that, with some of the new guidance that came out, I feel really good about where we're at by having a plan to come back January 4th. That's really what a lot of the new guidance is, to be quite honest, is directed toward metro schools, because there are a lot of metro schools that have been in distance learning, and they kind of basically just came out and said, throw that county number away, base your decision on what you're doing in your own community. That's good and bad, because we've done so much to try to help people understand why we're using that community information in that data. And you can kind of see that in that top right there, that blue line. You can see where it kind of blew up and then came down, and it's still coming down. So I think I can say confidently that we've made good decisions based on that data, but now they're saying kind of throw that away. But the other thing that's really important when you look at the data for our school, we're down right now. Our current active cases is 2. We've had 36 total. We're down to 32 quarantines. Unless we saw something super crazy, I think that we're doing great, setting things up, getting ready to come back on January 4th. My family told him I was screaming and I'm talking too loud. I just want to make sure you can hear. But yeah, that's all I got. Any questions?
Thank you. If there's no questions, then do we have any other new business?
I guess if I could just mention, back about, I think December 2nd, Wendy and myself participated in the delegate assembly resolution voting. And I don't know if you all get updates from MSBA, but they had the results. There were 11 resolutions discussed. A lot of discussion on a few of them. Some had to do with free meals and well, that one actually got tabled. They're going to bring that back for sure next year, because there's a lot involved in having the state pay for everybody's lunch. I guess it gets into the compensatory aid, and some districts don't have a problem, and yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of issues with that. So rather than vote it down, I guess they thought it best to just table that one. But again, if you want to see that, if you don't get it, I can pass it on to Craig, and he can send it out. We had a summary. We got a summary sheet. I don't know if everybody got that or not, and I don't know if Wendy would care to say anything, but sorry to put you on the spot, Wendy.
No, I don't really have anything to add. It was definitely a different experience this year because it was all done through Zoom. But I really don't have anything else to add.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any other new business? I'll note that our next regular meeting is January 11th, 2021 at 6:00 p.m. If there's no other new business, can I get a motion to adjourn?
I so move, Missy.
Motion by Missy. I have a second.
Dewey,
Second by Dewey. We'll do a roll call vote. Missy,
Yes.
Dewey,
yes.
Lloyd,
Aye.
Dale,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Wendy,
Yes.
and Rebecca, yes. Meeting adjourned.
All right, thanks, everybody.
Everybody
Bye.
have a happy holidays.
And do you. Happy holidays.
Mhm.